As the spotlight flickered on, James McCallister stood frozen in the wings, his heart pounding like a war drum. The auditorium, filled with 1,000 expectant faces, was a far cry from the solitude of his bedroom, where he had practiced his speech countless times in front of a cracked mirror. The clamor of the audience, the rustle of programs, and the hum of the air conditioning coalesced into a single, overwhelming roar in his mind. Tonight was the culmination of a journey marked by moments of intense self-doubt, personal discovery, and the relentless pursuit of self-belief. James had always been an introverted child, retreating into the world of books where heroes conquered their fears with ease. But reality had a different script. Throughout his school years, the mere thought of speaking up in class left him paralyzed. His classmates' eyes seemed to burn through him, making his palms sweat and his voice falter. A stutter he had battled since childhood didn't help. It made his words stumble and fall, turning even the simplest sentence into a marathon. In high school, James found solace in the debate team, not because he spoke, but because he could observe. He watched in awe as his peers commanded the room, their voices steady and their arguments compelling. His debate coach, Mrs. Hargrove, noticed his silent admiration and one day pulled him aside. "James, you have a lot to say. I see it in your eyes. The world needs to hear it." He shook his head vehemently. I can't. I'll mess up." Mrs. Hargrove smiled, a knowing look in her eyes. "Great speakers aren't born, they're made. You just need to find your voice." That moment planted a seed of possibility in James's heart. He began to practice in secret, standing in front of his mirror, mimicking the gestures and cadences of the speakers he admired. But the mirror couldn't replicate the terror of an audience, and the seed of doubt often choked the sprouting tendrils of his confidence. College brought a fresh start and new challenges. In his freshman year, James enrolled in a public speaking class, hoping to conquer his fear once and for all. The first assignment was a disaster. Standing in front of his peers, his vision blurred, his voice broke, and he barely made it through his introduction before rushing off the stage, humiliated. It was then that he met Elena, a senior and the president of the university's public speaking club. Elena had an aura of unshakable confidence, and a voice that could soothe or rally, depending on her intention. She saw potential in James, the same potential Mrs. Hargrove had seen. "Join the club," she urged after class one day. "It's not just about speaking, it's about finding your strength." Reluctantly, James agreed. The club became his haven, a place where he could fail without judgment and learn from every stumble. Elena's mentorship was transformative. She taught him techniques to control his breath, harness his anxiety, and turn his nervous energy into compelling storytelling. But more than techniques, Elena instilled in him a profound belief. His story mattered. James began to see public speaking not as a performance but as a connection. Each time he spoke, he shared a piece of himself, a fear, a triumph, a lesson learned. Slowly, his stutter diminished and his voice grew stronger. James, the measure of a speaker isn't in their perfection, but in their authenticity. Speak from your heart, and you'll reach theirs. The next evening, as the spotlight warmed his face, James took a deep breath and stepped onto the stage. The first few moments were a blur, the words tumbling out with a mind of their own. But then he saw a familiar face in the crowd, Mrs. Hargrove, her eyes shining with pride. In that instant, something clicked. The fear melted away, replaced by a calm determination. James's voice found its rhythm. He spoke of his journey from silence to speech, of the battles with self-doubt and the victories of self-belief. He shared the lessons learned from mentors who saw the potential in him when he couldn't see it himself. The audience was spellbound, hanging on his every word. As he concluded, the auditorium erupted in applause, not just polite but thunderous. James stood there, a sense of accomplishment washing over him. He had done it, not perfectly but authentically. Years later, James would go on to become a renowned public speaker, traveling the world and inspiring countless others with his story. He never forgot the fear that once held him captive, nor the people who had believed in him. Every speech was a testament to the power of self-belief and the transformative journey from doubt to confidence.